War is upon us. Nerf war. The season is about to begin, and now that folks are getting vaccinated, nerfing is an increasingly safe way to meet some new friends and blast them in the face. Problem: your ass has spent the last 13 months fusing into your gaming chair, and if you chase down a foe, it'll probably make your heart explode. Solution: a high-powered, 3D printed long-range blaster that lets you hunker down and make the darts do the walking. Here's how to build it. I got into Nerf blasters around 2009, back when 3.1% of my audience were still Dad's cheesy pickup lines. Back then, the idea of a Nerf sniper was a literal joke. Nerf Haven had a bot that replaced the word sniper with loser and sniping with ingesting the dookie. But the future is now, old man. 3D printed blasters hit twice as hard as 2009's finest, and they are more consistent and accurate too. In my last video about 3D printed Nerf, the overwhelming number of comments said that there were 3D printers first and Nerfers maybe not yet. So if you've done plenty of squirting but not a lot of Nerfing, this episode is for you. In today's episode, we're going to build this high-powered, super accurate blaster that makes a great introduction to the hobby. Everything I featured today is Creative Commons licensed open source hardware, and may I recommend downloading it from today's sponsor, Thangs. Thangs is a free and fast all-you-can-eat buffet of printable 3D models, and there's no cutesy stage photos, there's no reading through the creator's life story, there's no figuring out which versions are outdated, and most importantly, there are no 5-second ad breaks. There's just page after page of cool stuff that you can print in just 2 clicks. You can preview every part with an interactive viewer that loads in milliseconds, and you can download every part of the model at once. Thangs is actually running a contest to make printable accessories for your Hey Alexa, OK Google, Hey Siri, play Despacito. The contest ends at the end of the month, so check out the winners on April 5th and check out your Robo Butler of choice. Links for all of today's models, thanks to Thangs, are in the description, and I have added a few more Nerfy surprises to sweeten the deal. You could just jump straight to the description and download everything, but, you know, let the video play in the background. The algorithm demands retention. So what makes a Nerf blaster a sniper? Well, nothing. A sniper isn't a blaster, a sniper is a player. A team sniper sets up shop at a key location and just controls the territory. They punish enemies who break cover, they beat back aggressive plays, and they delete anyone who gives your teammates a hard time. Basically, anytime a bad guy moves from one place to another, or stands still too long, or is too powerful for his own good, the sniper's job is to send him back to spawn. The biggest weapon in this arsenal is going prone. Remember, once you're on the ground, most blasters' groupings are wider than you are. Even if the enemy's aim is dead on, they still have to get lucky to hit you. No matter how you plan to play, if you're gonna 3D print your first blaster, make it a Caliburn. Designed by Nerfing legend Captain Slug and refined over thousands of prints, the Caliburn is definitely the most popular and, in my opinion, the most reliable 3D printed blaster of all. This is a pump action springer. You work the pump to compress a heavy spring, and you pull the trigger to release the shmoo. It's about 3 times as hot as an off-the-shelf blaster. And since they feed from magazines, you can fire as fast as you can work the action. Captain Slug has made tons of accessories and variant parts, and well, since it has Picatinny rails, as Chef John would say, you are the master of your 3D printed blaster. The linchpin of this build is the Raider-style receiver that feeds a magazine from the side of the blaster instead of the bottom. So now when you hit the dirt, you can keep the lowest possible profile, and you can also reload without having to reorient the blaster. I also equipped the extended barrel, the adjustable stock, the scar muzzle attachment, the knuckle duster handguard, the angled foregrip, and a serious business scope. And yes, the scope is both useful and relevant. Well, the handguard acts like a monopod and props up the blaster, which both steadies your shots and relieves your arms. This extra long barrel builds more velocity, and the scar attachment stabilizes darts. More on how that works in a second. This extra foot or so is fine because hopefully you won't need to do too many tactical acrobatics, tactrobatics. Speaking of, let's shoot the elephant in the room and talk about scopes. Magnified optics in Nerf are kind of a meme because blasters just aren't accurate. This scope doesn't improve your aim, it helps you watch the shot to see it hit the enemy. When you fire foam at someone 80 feet away, that dart is going to be almost invisibly tiny, and it's going to move so slowly your target won't feel the hit. In other words, the scope isn't here to help you land hits, it's here to help you confirm hits. Nerf blasters have another problem with scopes. Darts just drop so aggressively that even if you ratchet down to the lowest elevation, the target won't be anywhere near the sight picture. That's why I added this special rail riser to solve the problem. It's actually inclined by about 2 degrees, which tilts the scope down to account for the sharp drop. I've also added some backup iron sights on an angled rail because the scope is just zeroed so low it's useless at close range. The optic is optional, of course. You can add a dot reflex sight or just put some irons on and practice a lot. Just don't pick something with a fancy reticle. You have to see the dart. Quick aside, there are tons of tightly optimized competitive blasters more releasing all the time, but I feel like making goofy bullshit instead. Should I A, build an auto-aiming smart scope, or B, build a wearable cyborg blaster? Hit me with a comment, get it? Hit me? Anyways, this configuration is great for new Nerfers because the receiver accepts official Nerf clips. Yes, Hasbro calls them clips, not mags, and the adapter handles the most common aftermarket mags. Short darts, aka slugs, are just straight up better than full length. They're more accurate, they have less drag, and you can carry twice as many rounds in the same amount of pocket. And you can 3D print magazines yourself. You have 2 options, Katana and Talon, and the adapter in the description accepts both. Here's Tantacle's Katana and my own Tel.0. All these need is a follower spring, which you can harvest from a Nerf drum magazine. I would recommend Talon because you can't stick them in backwards, but Katana mags do work with off-the-shelf Dart Zone Pro blasters. A dart moving through the barrel is basically plugging up the works, and once it leaves the muzzle, the remaining pressure releases behind it as a puff of air. This gives the dart's tail a good flick, and causes it to fishtail as it leaves the barrel. You can see that drag stabilization quickly straightens out the dart, but the damage is done. It's now slightly off course, and it's lost a little bit of its velocity. So, we attach a scar. That's short for string centering and rifling. It looks like a suppressor, but it's more like a stabilizer. Inside the scar, 6 fishing lines are stretched tight at skew angles, gripping the dart as it passes through and spinning it like a football. Exactly how a scar reduces fishtailing is, well, it's up for debate, but see for yourself. The dart definitely leaves the scar straighter and truer. A scar is an essential accessory to any high-powered springer, but is absolutely necessary for our snipity sniping. Captain Slug has done a phenomenal job designing for printability, so barely anything needs supports. You can run most of this off in any rigid filament, but if you Nerf on a hot summer day, the temperature can rise enough to soften PLA. If you think the temperature will break 120 Fahrenheit, print in PET. Some of the load-bearing elements have to be made of ABS, polycarbonate, or some other high-strength material, or they'll shatter under the spring's power. Either way, you're gonna need a ton of plastic. At least 2 spools for the blaster, and probably another one for accessories, gear, and color variety. Buying an 0.6mm nozzle is also a great idea. This is over a day of straight printing, and it's not going to get any shorter with a baby nozzle. You're going to need screws, springs, and other hardware, but Captain Slug sells pre-made parts kit. I highly recommend buying them. They're convenient, they're cheaper than buying everything by the box, and, well, it supports the creator. The inclined riser and the angled rails need metric hardware, but the Caliburn itself needs Imperial. There are metric Caliburns, but I don't think most of the variant parts I've spec'd out are available in metric, so you know, move to America. If you want to build a blaster exactly like this one, check the description for all of the items you'll have to print. Note that many parts from the Caliburn, these ones, if you're listening to this, tab back. All these parts have been replaced by custom parts, so don't print the base ones, print the custom ones. But wait, there's more. Remember how in the last Nerf episode I shilled for my Etsy Nerf gear store? Well, it's closed. I'm gonna give away all the models that I used to sell. You can now download my Warp Saya mag holders, my Scramrod Ramrod, my 4-star throwing saw rack, my brass breech stencils, my Merlin stencils, all for free, all on Things. You can 3D print an entire loadout. I did. Remember to check back on Things on April 5th to download the winners of their AI assistant contest and give your favorite female presenting kitchen appliance something special. When the sudden but inevitable robot betrayal happens, you might just be spared. Curse it. Our patrons enable us to make ridiculously over-the-top projects, and if you can chip in, visit patreon.com/Zack Freedman. It makes a tremendous difference and really expands the scope of what we can make. I gotta send 250 thanks per second to I'm Not Bedacore and CMD or Command, our almost unfairly generous collaborators. Their names have been camouflaged somewhere in this episode. Snipe them if you can. Our loyal lab assistants are Daniel Cadwell, Andrew Patton, Brad Cox, Cyrus Drager, Acalia, Paul Rector, damn near killed her, Robert Breeze, Michael Dunn, Gregory Jones, Deputon of Deptopia, Joe Harp, good suck, James Berry, Varka, shout out to my fans, and Tech Daddy, Azundo, Anthony Mincarelli, Michael Roche, Olivier Yiptong, Brian Santero, Brian Glezerson, Zanforian, Bill Schooler, C. Harris, Powerful CCH, Jason, The Antifa, Taranak, Roger Pinkholm, and my dog is a bear. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll snipe you in the future.